Federal Circuit says Florida judge misread precedent in an Elfbar row. Now, this involves what's called the unlawful use doctrine or trademarks. And it happens to fall in the tobacco category, but it's one of the issues that we face in the cannabis industry is you can't go to the U.S. Patent and Trade Office and get a trademark for a cannabis product because the cannabis is illegal and it's an unlawful use, so you can't protect that copyright. And make sure I get these parties right here. We've got a company called VPR Brands that sued Shenzhen Weeboli Technology and a bunch of others, and I'm going to say they're Chinese. I don't mean to be racist here, but it sounds to me like this is a Chinese company.
That's a Chinese company. And, that's not racist, Dale.
Yeah, and so the plaintiff here said we've got the trademark on the word elf, and this Weeboli group was selling what they call elf bars. Oh, and we don't get the picture of all the cease and desist letters and things that went into the preliminaries here, but they filed a complaint in federal court, and they ran in to get an injunction to stop Weeboli from doing this. And the judge did not accept the unlawful use doctrine, okay? And which is kind of surprising because in the cannabis space, you can't protect a trademark because it's an illegal product, and they do allow you to stop somebody from using products because they can't protect them in the cannabis space here. It's an unlawful use. Now, what I really found interesting, and I want to read the quote from you here. The court said, this is the district court. The trial court issued an injunction preventing Weeboli from selling Elfbar anymore, and they appealed. Okay, so what the appellate court says, we conclude the district court committed legal error by misinterpreting 11th Circuit's guidance and unreasonably rejecting Weeboli's unlawful use defense without adequate legal or factual analysis. Now, in a legal sense, when that happens to a judge, the appellate courts tell him, you done fucked up. We're going to put this in nice language, but you don't know what the hell you were doing. You misread the law, and you didn't do an adequate factual analysis. As I looked into this, it turns out that this is the infamous Judge Aileen Cannon, the one who's overseeing Trump's Mar-a-Lago documents case that dismissed the indictment, claiming that the special prosecutor is illegal. Oh, this got my attention because this is a verbal spanking, and she needs it because the unlawful use doctrine is a viable doctrine, and the factual analysis is where they kind of spanked her too, because she admitted they brought in experts in trial to say that this company, DPR, whatever their name is, did not apply to the FDA for permission to market a tobacco product. So that was an unlawful use of a copyright, okay? And it's pretty straightforward black letter law. And if what you're doing is illegal and you run in to get an injunction to stop somebody from violating your illegal use of a copyright, you should be told, there's the door, pack up your dolls and get the fuck out, okay? That didn't happen here. And when you read this appellate decision, it seems like that's what they're telling Judge Cannon. Okay, take the cotton out of your ears, read the case, listen to the factual analysis, and preliminary injunctions are just not appropriate when there's an unlawful use of a copyright. Oh, this has some interesting political ramifications to it. That's why I brought it in. I try not to bring too much political shit into here because, you know, it can turn into a food fight. But the copyright laws for cannabis are just not very helpful, because cannabis is illegal under federal law, and we want federal trademark protection. What my clients do, we work with some IP attorneys, and we get hats and shirts and, you know, give away merch and stuff like that, and we will get a trademark for that, and we're waiting until they allow cannabis products to be trademarked You're first in and you've got first run at getting your trademarks. But at this point, we don't get it because the unlawful use doctrine is alive and well. I'm going to throw this back at you all to hear what you have to say, not just about unlawful use, but whether Judge Cannon actually understands what she's doing here. I don't think so. Back at you guys. What do you think?
I mean, Dale, they said that they own the patent for the word elf.
Well, they trademarked it. It was a trademark.
So what?
They applied for it.
So what is elf on a shelf supposed to do now, Dale?
Well, okay, I don't know. Because if you have elf as a trademark and you get permission from the FDA and they approve your marketing plan to go out and market your tobacco product, it's not an unlawful use. But they didn't do that. They just went out and started selling elf. And I don't have all the particulars of what they were selling. But elf is also being used by this other company, Weeboli, and they actually have permission. Elfbar has permission to be marketed as a tobacco product. So when I looked at this, it's like I wonder why this judge did this. I really question why should this is a Chinese company. I hate to think that there was anything to do with Chinese overtones or anything like that. But this was clearly a swing and a miss, and she got spanked a little bit, so it's coming back to her. Let's try it again, Aileen. Evaluate the law, read the case, read the fucking case, understand what it says, and then take the facts that you admitted were brought into evidence and apply them, and then see if you are going to issue an injunction. I don't think she's going to do it, but we'll see.
Time will tell.
I mean, Elf is like, Rico and I know, Elf is like one of the largest vape, like single-use vape manufacturers that's around, right? They're everywhere, and for a long time, they pretty much had a monopoly, like, on the industry. And they did a pretty good job with the product. They did a great job with the marketing. They didn't have to do quite that much marketing because everybody you see from, 19-year-olds in college to freaking 40-year-old moms has an Elfbar in their hand. So I think it should be interesting. I think maybe it's less of like Chinese initiative and more of just, he who has most money wins. So we'll see.
Well, and what they comment upon is that when it goes back for the preliminary injunction, if the judge, depending on what the judge does, somebody's going to have leverage to settle. I think they want to resolve this thing. But the decision that Judge Cannon made was so out of left field that they had to appeal it. Now it comes back, and most of these cases get resolved. And I'm just going to be curious to see how Judge Cannon actually handles being spanked by the appellate courts.
And I would guess, Dale, that Keebler is marked safe in this trial because they have elves, not just one elf, right?
Well,
what about
they're not selling the same product.
Yeah, what about the movie studios that put out that Will Ferrell movie Elf?
Oh yeah, good point.
I think that probably predated the vapes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
This is confusion. This is a confusion case that you're going to confuse your product for mine, and we have the superior trademark. And the appellate court said, "Oh no, you don't. It's an unlawful use. You don't have one. Go back and redo this." But if you're going to use Elf for, Elf cookie or something like that, I don't think you have the same problems you have when you're in the same space using the same name. That created the problem here.
Dale, couldn't they just do like elf ... and say that it's like short for elephant?
Well, you can try, but if it's going to tend to confuse the consuming public, then you're going to lose.
Jason, spell elephant for me real quick.
ELEPHANT.
There we go.
I know how to spell.
Mississippi, yes.
Yeah, I know how to spell. I'm a professional speller. I want spelling bees, girl. Better recognize. Rachelle, you have any thoughts on this? Have you ever built an elf Lego set?
Well, if you count the Christmas holiday Lego sets with like the elf's workshop, then yes, I have.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Even Lego's getting into this. Even Lego's violating this thing.
I can't just sit back and like support elves no more, man. I never really thought about it. And from that scope, it sounds like they're slaves, man. Nobody's ever talked about them getting.
Of course, you would go there.
Any kind of workers' rights, no compensation, no nothing.
They seem very happy.
You should.
They're jolly.
Oh yeah, slaves seemed pretty happy too to the rest of America back in the 1800s.
Oh, geez,
too.
we're not.
Until we heard otherwise,
Here we
right?
go.
So just saying.
Here we go. Here we go. We're gonna go to a
Official.
commercial.
For the elves, man.
We're gonna go to a commercial. We're gonna be right back.